So, John, if you were a robot that had some kind of feature that no other robot has, what would that feature be?
I think I'd quite like to be a DJ Roomba.
Oh.
You know, like on Community, where he's converted the Roomba into a DJ.
Yeah.
What a life. Just, wander around the ship and just blast banging tunes all your life.
Some films are fine just the way they are. Other films sometimes take it way too far. Really, how hard could it get? Let's go beyond the box set.
Welcome, everybody, to 2018. We are Beyond the Box Set, a podcast where we pitch prequels, sequels, and spin-offs to one of movies that don't have any. I'm Harry. Joining me as always is John.
A very disoriented John.
Why?
It's
Because I did the intro different.
It's 2018. It's bizarre.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really.
Don't give away our secrets.
Sorry. But as far as you're concerned, it is.
Yeah, we are actually recording this on the day this episode comes out.
Yeah.
Whatever day that may be.
We're up live. We're just doing this on a constant loop and people can tune in when they may. It's just once a week we change it up.
Yeah, and as a welcome back to 2018, thought we'd do something different, do our first ever animated film and do WALL-E.
Oh, it is our first ever animated film, isn't it?
Yeah, we did Who Killed Roger Rabbit, but that's...
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Whatever.
Yeah. You didn't like it.
I
guess that's
I didn't care for that film.
I think we did Super Mario Bros., which wasn't animated, but was kind
There
of...
was no animation in that.
No,
It was
I think-
costumes, wasn't it?
I just thought of it as animation. I don't know why. But yeah. Okay, so this is our first fully animated film.
Yeah.
Cool. And this is your choice. So
Yeah, it
we're
was.
doing WALL-E.
Yes.
Okay, tell me why.
Because it was on. I was watching it. And then I was like, hey, wait, we should do this for the podcast. So I finished it and like, great, that was good. Hey, John, do you want to do that? And like, yeah.
I love the amount of thought you put into these things.
The truth.
Reasons to do it, it was on.
But it was good though. I'd not seen it before, apart from I think about maybe the first 5 minutes, which I watched, and then I was watching on BBC iPlayer, and then iPlayer was just like, no, not working anymore. And I was like, oh well, I guess that's that then. And so I just never watched it. That was years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and then now I finally watched it, and I feel like I've missed out on years of my life of loving this film. Yeah. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I had seen it before, but not like actively. Like I'd always seen bits and pieces of it on TV. I'd never sat down and watched it from start to finish, which happens a lot with kids' films. If I don't watch them in the cinema when they come out, I tend to just catch them whenever they appear on TV.
Yeah.
But this is a lovely film. It's beautiful to look at. I really, really like the visuals of it. I think it's got a really nice premise. I think it's very artistic. Pixar films are always aiming a little bit higher than your Shreks and your DreamWorks kind of stuff. They're always going for something.
God, I hate DreamWorks.
Pixar now, you expect a certain level of quality. I think this is one of the films that really...
They generally achieve their level, I'd say.
Oh, totally. There are very few occasions when they don't, but...
There are some.
Oh, yeah, Cars.
The Last Dinosaur.
I've never seen it, have you?
The Little Dinosaur?
No, I think it was
don't
The
know.
Last Dinosaur. I didn't see it. Did you see it?
No.
No. Did
Didn't hear
anyone?
good things about it either.
No.
Didn't hear bad things.
No,
Didn't
just-
really hear anything.
I don't think anyone saw it. It was just a rare miss. But yeah, I think this is one of the films... Obviously, they'd already done Toy Story and Toy Story 2.
Yeah.
In fact, I think is this after Ratatouille, but before Toy Story 3?
I think so. I'm not too sure.
I think this lands at that point where people are like, okay, Pixar are now not just making children's films, they're making art. Because one thing that I thought about with this film is, do you think this is a children's film?
Yeah, I don't know, because I watched it, and at no point did I think that I should have a child with me just to sort of justify me watching this.
Yeah.
Because it was my first time through it, and I'm 24.
Yeah.
So it's not like I was watching it as like a childhood memory or something. But yeah, at no point did I feel like this was a kid's film, particularly.
And that's normally a problem for you, isn't it? Because there's times in the past, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit and The Goonies, which we've not done, but I know you don't like, when we've done like nostalgia films, kids films, if you don't have the nostalgia, you really struggle. You don't tend to like them.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a problem with you for this. You just appreciated this as a film. Yeah. I guess that makes sense. I mean, it is more modern than stuff like The Goonies and Roger Rabbit. Obviously quite dated. But
True.
yeah, I mean, I don't think by any means this is not suitable for children. So I think it's definitely a child-friendly film. I think the themes it brings in are aimed a lot more at kind of adults. And
Yeah, they are.
I don't know. I've never watched this with a child either, but I don't know whether a child would find it a little bit boring. Maybe.
It's possible.
Because I'll be honest, I do think this is a great film, but my attention did wander.
It's not the fastest film, is it?
No, I thought the first half hour was really, really nice. I really enjoyed it. I just found it utterly charming. Just watching WALL-E going around that world, and there's no dialogue really. It's just him, and he's living his life and discovering human things in his little It was almost like the Little Mermaid. He had his little treasure trove.
Yeah.
He had
Yeah,
all
it
his
was.
human stuff. It was. I almost expected him to be like, "Look at this stuff, isn't it neat?" In fact, it should have been that rather than Hello Dolly. That would have been a really funny thing. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. Once it got to the main plot, once Eve arrives, and then, I mean, there's some lovely bits with him and Eve, don't get me wrong, but once it gets onto the ship, it's still great. There's still some bits that I found really funny and entertaining, and I wasn't, like, really bored, but it definitely slowed down a little bit, and I did find my attention drifting ever so slightly. I felt like it reminded me a little bit of when I watched The Artist, the silent film, because that, again, I watched the first maybe 20 minutes, and I was like, this is completely charming and delightful. And then by the end, I was just really bored. Much more so than I was with this. I felt like the premise would have sustained better as like a short movie, like a half-hour movie, rather than like a 90-minute movie.
What, WALL-E?
The Artist just, I think was too long. I can't remember how long it was, but it felt longer than it needed to be.
Yeah.
And the novelty wore off. The silent novelty wore off for me, like midway through the film, and then I got bored.
I feel like this one, to appeal to kids, could be a little snappier.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's just a little bit slow moving.
Because it didn't really get to sort of child-type stuff until sort of the last third. Where it got on the ship, and then there's all these humans that are all in weird shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
Actually, they're all in one shape and size.
Yeah. But yeah, I wonder if kids would enjoy the bits that I found a little bit more boring then. Like, as I said, I wasn't bored by that, but over the course of 90 minutes, having your main character not speak, I think that's the main thing for me is that, again, with The Artist as well, I'm a big dialogue person. So having characters who don't speak and have quite one-dimensional personality types, I found it hard to be that invested in them. I think I appreciated it more than I actively enjoyed it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure it's the only Pixar film that didn't even remotely make me cry. Did you get emotive at any point? I mean, obviously there were bits when WALL-E gets crushed, and there's definitely sad moments, but it just didn't get me in the guts, in the feels.
Yeah. There was no point where I felt like crying, but I definitely did feel a lot of strong emotions towards this film.
Okay. All positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, when WALL-E was in peril at the end, I didn't really feel like WALL-E was in peril. Because maybe I didn't feel the connection or something. I don't know. Or maybe I just, deep down, I knew that just like, look, I've been burnt by Toy Story 3. I know he's going to make it. It's fine.
Yeah. And also, I guess, because there's only those two, it is the WALL-E movie, so it's not going to end with him dying.
No.
Like, it'd be ridiculous. Like, it just wouldn't work for, because it's not, if there's an ensemble like Toy Story, then you can think, oh, maybe they're not all going to make it. But with WALL-E, it's like, yeah, you're probably going to get to the end. And
Yeah.
I will say, the first third of the film, I had a lot of anxiety about that cockroach.
Yeah. Oh my god, it got run over twice.
Yeah, I know. I was really like, oh, this thing's going to bite it. Like, that's the Pixar, like, it's not going to make it, so...
And then that point at the end where it starts following the lasers like WALL-E did at the start, and I was like, no, don't follow those lasers. Not a good idea.
Yeah. How many of those do you reckon WALL-E's been through? Like cockroach buddies over his... Because we're assuming he's been doing this for like 700 years.
Yeah.
And the average cockspan...
No, carry on.
The average... the average cockroach lifespan, I think, is about 12 months. So,
oh dear.
Well, that was Freudian, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm not sure, but also, what's happened in that world? I mean, I don't need to know the whole sort of apocalypse thing of humans abandoning the planet, but why are there so many other robots, and why is WALL-E the only one left?
Well, I assumed that what had happened was that it's been about 700 years, we are told, since the Earth has been abandoned because it's just got too polluted and dirty and full of garbage.
Yeah.
And so I assumed that all of the other robots on Earth that had been, all the other WALL-E units you see, there's quite a haunting scene at the beginning when you see him, like, going through the wasteland and all the decommissioned WALL-Es are there, like, rusted and just dead. So I assumed that he had just somehow managed to keep himself going while all the other ones had eventually died out. He's almost a bit of a Frankenstein because he's constantly taking pieces from other to replenish himself. Like, so there's probably not much left of him aside from his like CPU maybe. So yeah, I guess he's just somehow developed sentience, and all the other ones were just like drones. I guess. Yeah. I mean, it's a kid's film.
Well, you say that, but like Eve gets sentience very quickly.
True. To be fair,
So,
all
like,
of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really think that any of them have not got sentience really.
Yes, to be fair, all of the robots do feel like they have a degree of self-awareness. So yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, the basic premise, I think, is that Earth has been abandoned by humans because it's become too polluted and full of garbage. These robots were deployed probably before the humans left to kind of clean up. Either WALL-E they forgot to turn him off, or he was just the last survivor, and he's just, obviously, he has developed sentience, certainly to a higher degree than the others, because he still is very focused on his one mission, which is to clean up, even though it's an impossible task. He's a tiny little robot, and you can see the huge, vast scale of what he's doing. But he keeps doing it day in, day out, but he also is, in the meantime, discovering different human objects and playing with them and exploring them, and also learning about human emotions and love by watching an old VHS of Hello Dolly.
Yeah.
Which I did find very sweet.
Did you find it weird, going off topic now, did you find it weird how the videos we saw of like the president or whatever it was, that was a real person?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, then we saw photos of the captains of that ship as time's gone by, and they've evolved to being animated.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
It was very strange.
I think it's the first Pixar animation to have humans.
Yeah. Well,
to have
non-animated.
non-animated humans.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously ones have had animated humans, but yeah, that was weird. I guess they could have animated Fred Willard. It didn't seem like there was any reason. I guess the only thing is the Hello Dolly thing, because they had to have humans as humans, because otherwise they couldn't have shown Barbara Streisand and Michael Crawford in that video. They would have had to recreate it, and it wouldn't have been quite the same.
No, yeah.
So yeah, I guess. Yeah, I did find that odd, but I think you just have to go with it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really inclined to pick at kids' films, like, logistically too much.
No.
Compared to other films where I get very cynical. Stuff like this, I'm like, yeah, fine. That being said, do you think they made the right decision going home?
Well, yeah, I mean, the ship's still there.
Yeah, I guess that's the case. They could just...
I do wonder, like, what was their mission? Like, to just be sat out in space for, I guess, hundreds of years, to the extent that nobody remembers Earth or anything it's about. And they only know things like pizza just from the flavour of drink they drink.
Yeah. I found that really gross. The idea of a meal in a cup really grossed me out. I was like, oh, that's horrible.
Time for lunch. In a cup.
Yeah, and so it's like, what are they doing out there in space? Just hanging about, doing nothing for no reason. And so, yeah, going back to Earth was...
It gave them a purpose, yeah.
Yeah, it was something to do.
Yeah, true. No, I think that's what it was. I think it's the case that they had relocated because Earth was uninhabitable, but they didn't go with any kind of plan. I think it was just like, yeah, over time they just kind of gave up, wrote Earth off as a loss, and just descended into this kind of uber pointlessness. And then obviously because of the gravity thing, they experience bone loss and just become like giant babies, basically.
Yeah. Well, I also took it to be that they were all obese.
Of course, yeah, but it was explained as it wasn't just laziness, it was the fact that they would have gone that way either way, I think, because of being in space that long, which is apparently scientifically true.
Yeah.
It's a real issue with...
If you don't have gravity, which they did on that ship.
Oh, is that it? But
Yeah,
no,
because they were all walking about, weren't they?
True. But I'm sure I read somewhere in the notes that was based on a real theory that if you were up in space for long enough, you would actually lose that mobility regardless. Like.
Yeah, that's definitely the case, but that's just a symptom of zero gravity.
Oh, okay.
Whereas if you're in a spaceship, that you see in a few sci-fis, like there'll be a spinning thing on the ship.
Right. Okay.
Like 2001: Space Odyssey does it. There's a few others. I think The Martian does it, and they've actually got gravity because they've got something spinning.
Okay.
Interstellar.
Yeah, sure.
The bit where they spin the ship to get gravity.
Right.
So if they do that, then it works, and then they wouldn't suffer from that.
Okay.
But there was one point in this film where it really went off for me, where the autopilot took over the ship and just tilted it a little bit, which somehow made gravity just pull everybody to the side of the ship.
Yeah.
It's not how artificial gravity is going to work.
Was it not just literally that they were on a tilt?
Well, yeah, they were on a tilt, but the ship was making its own gravity. It wasn't like...
Oh, so it wasn't like human gravity. I didn't think of that.
It's not like if a plane goes sideways, that makes sense. But
okay.
Yeah. Still, whatever.
Yeah. But one thing that I noticed was, I guess it's because it's a kid's film, so they don't want to go too dark with it. They said it's been 700 years, and you look at the captains, and there were only like 6 or 7 of them over that time. So even though they're like hyper obese, they're all living a super long time. So maybe
healthcare of the future, I guess.
Yeah, maybe they've just like found a way to remove all of the health problems that might go along with that. So I just thought that was interesting. Like, as much as they have kind of a pointless existence, they seem like... It feels like repopulating the Earth is going to be really hard work.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure they're quite equipped for it yet. So that was my only thought. As much as it's not the most, meaningful existence in the world, you're relatively healthy, you're relatively comfortable. None of them seemed super unhappy with their situation. At worst, they were kind of like checked out and kind of,
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I was like, how's this going to work really though?
The jewel of the B&L fleet, the Axiom. Spend your 5-year cruise in style, waited on 24 hours a day by our fully automated crew, while your captain and autopilot chart a course for non-stop entertainment, fine dining, and with our all-access hover chairs, even Grandma can join the fun. There's no need to walk. The Axiom, putting the star in Executive Starliner.
Because at B&L, space is the final frontier.
I wonder if we could evolve that much in 700 years to be animated.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if 700 years ago. So, like, who was around then?
So, like, the 15th, like the Queen Elizabeth I.
What if Queen Elizabeth I looked like that?
Looked like a giant.
But just in all the paintings we have of her, she looks a bit more like what we know as...
Yeah. Well, to be fair, there were no photographers then, so we only know what Queen Elizabeth looked like from portraits. So technically, she was an animation for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
Like, she could have just been animation, we just might have never seen it. Like, we're just assuming she wasn't. It's like how everyone thought dinosaurs were like green and, you know, what like they look like in Jurassic Park, like green and scaly, and now we think they were all like fabulous and feathered and not scary looking at all by arm. But we've already got this sense in our head of what a dinosaur would have looked like, so reality doesn't really matter. So, yeah, who knows?
What if Queen Elizabeth was actually really ugly?
Well, she probably was.
Like they just painted her pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll guarantee that pretty much every...
What if she had a massive deformity and she had 2 noses? Who knows?
It's very possible, yeah. Like, all of the royals before photography, we don't know what they really look like because they would have been given the most flattering portraits possible. There's that famous story of Henry VIII's fourth wife, Anne of Cleves, the one who... He married her based on a painting made of her that turned out to be super flattering, and then when she really arrived, he didn't fancy her at all, and so she got sent off.
Tinder of its time, really, isn't it?
Yeah, just put a very very slow version of Tinder, just a like portrait, like, please don't swipe left. Another question I had about the ship. Where do you think those babies came from?
Don't know.
It didn't strike me that they were interested in or capable of having sex.
No, not at all.
Like, they couldn't even get out their own chairs, unless the robots like dropped one on top of another one and was like, well, good luck. Like,
yeah. God, I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe they were like artificially.
Test tube babies?
Yeah, I think they were probably just test tube babies. Yeah.
A is for Axiom, your home sweet home. B is for by and large, your very best friend.
So what were some of your favourite scenes in this film then?
Well, I covered a lot of them, I think. I quite liked WALL-E digging his way into the ground when the rocket was landing and taking off. That was good. Same as you, really. I really liked the sort of the opening 10-15 minutes where you get introduced to this world and introduced to this character. I really found that quite good.
The animation really is very good at making WALL-E emotive, even though he's not really emoting. And Eve as well, to a degree, but mostly WALL-E. They did a lot with his fingers. There was a lot of really good finger work. Like,
yeah, there was.
He's told a lot of his emotions through that, because his eyes don't really change.
Yeah.
Like, they shift around a little bit, but...
They can get bigger and smaller, I guess.
Yeah, I like that. I enjoyed all the jokes with Eve being a real kind of shoot first, ask questions later kind of gal.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
She fired that ion cannon thing at the drop of a hat. Did you have any favourite robots in this? Like, we saw a lot of different robot designs. Any
yeah, the parasol robot.
The parasol robot. Okay.
Yeah, the one who was just a...
It was just a parasol.
That's all it did.
What a life, yeah. I think you can probably...
And it couldn't even do that right.
No, yeah. There's definitely a whole movie around that that robot story.
Yeah. I also quite liked the robot who was cleaning everything.
Oh, yeah.
He was constantly just like, oh my God. And just had to go and clean.
If he hasn't already, he's clearly going to be the star of a Pixar short at some point.
Yeah.
They're bringing him back and he'll have his own little short where he's just constantly cleaning things. I think you can probably guess mine. Could you?
Don't think so.
It's pretty obvious. Not WALL-E or Eve.
One of the guys, the captain?
No.
Well, is it a human?
No, of course not. The humans were nothing to them, really.
Oh, I don't remember what other robots there are. The autopilot?
No.
Oh, you like bad guy.
This wasn't a bad guy.
Don't know.
It was a very small... The sassy hairdressing makeup robots, they were amazing. The little pink ones.
That was a very small part, though.
They appeared at least twice. There's the little passing shot of them making up all the humans and talking like sassy quips, like, I know, girl, tell me about it. Oh, man. Like, and then there's a bit where he gets made up and they're like, you look fabulous. Like, it's the new you. That was the thing they kept saying, wasn't it? It's the new you. So I like that a lot. That made me laugh.
Feel beautiful.
It's the new you. Oh, stunning. Great. I know, honey. Men.
Attention.
What did you think of the ending then?
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Left it open,
It did, yeah.
I thought. Do you reckon we'll ever get an actual sequel? Not just one of ours?
I don't know. Of all the Pixar films, I think this might be the least likely to get a sequel. Like, it made of the ones that did well, because it made a huge amount of money. So I think there's people who would like to hear it, but...
Inside Out's probably going to get a sequel
I think Inside Out will get one first. I just don't know what they could do with it, really, because the characters are quite one-dimensional. I think the premise is the movie. I can't really imagine what they do. So I think they might leave this one as a standalone. Part of me hopes they do, because I think it works very nicely as a standalone movie. I don't think it needs to be cashed in on particularly.
Yeah, I agree.
But I really liked the actual end credits, the way they changed the animation. I thought that was very, very nice.
Oh, yeah, that was good. They sort of went through sort of the different historical periods that we've had,
Yeah.
like the Egyptians, the Greeks, and that sort of stuff.
It reminded me a lot of the original ending of Futurama. Before, obviously, they went back and rebooted it for about 5 or 6 more times. Do you know what I mean? When he tells Leela?
You watch this all the time. You've got the DVDs.
I know.
there.
I've just had a brain fart. When do you know the one I mean though? When it's like, tell me how it ends, and he plays the little instrument, and then the animation.
Was that one of the ending ones?
That was the original ending of the
Really
whole,
early on.
Yeah, that was the end of the original run of the whole show, and then it got cancelled. So, but they knew it was ending, so they gave it like a sweet ending, and then obviously it got brought back. But yeah, that was originally how it was supposed to end. And as much as I've enjoyed some of the Futuramas since then, if it ended there, I would have considered it possibly like an almost perfect show.
So that reminded you of this then?
It did.
The other round, but
Just because I think it was a similar animation, because you saw like hand-drawn Eve and WALL-E exploring the world together. It was very similar. It was just very sweet and very nicely done. I enjoyed it a lot. So, yeah. Anything else?
No. Drinking games?
Drinking games, sure.
What have you got?
I didn't have many this week. Like, again, because it's kind of a weird film for them.
It's a kids' film.
It's a kids' film, yeah.
It's
But I don't mean
designed for drinking too.
I think there are kids' films you could have drinking games with. I don't mean
Not with Nail and I.
No, exactly. There's just not that many like funny comic beats or accidents or mistakes that you can make fun of. So I did Drink When Robots Think They're People.
Solid.
Just when they do very kind of human kind of things.
I've got a similar one, which is drink whenever you see a reference to our age.
Yes. Yeah, they do a lot of throwbacks to the 20th, 21st century.
Especially the whole thing is set, I assume, in New York. It looks like you see, like, I think you see the Empire State Building at one point. Yeah.
I didn't really pick up on that. I just thought it was like generic wasteland, but yeah, that'd work. Like, just lots of things that WALL-E would do. You'd be like, oh, he thinks he's people. Like,
yeah.
Doing his little dance routine with his little hat and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that was good.
So also had drink for Apple products or references.
Oh, yeah, solid.
Do you have that one as well?
I nearly did, but no, I only went for 3 this time. Yeah, instead I went for a drink for any Pixar references.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of those as well.
Always in every Pixar film. That's what I love about Pixar.
Yeah, it's fun to spot.
Yeah,
because you could definitely have them all in the same. There's like theories, aren't there, that they're all in the same cinematic universe, like not in the really heavy-handed way that like Marvel is, but more like just like there's little. They could all be existing in some.
Yeah, I think
version
that
of the world.
This one comes after everything apart from Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
Monsters Inc. is the final evolution of humans.
Oh, okay. It's interesting.
So it's a couple of millennia after
I
this.
hadn't thought of that. It's been so long since I've seen Monsters Inc. Did that get a sequel?
Yeah, well, prequel.
Oh, it got Monsters University, didn't it? Yeah. Which I don't think I ever saw.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Oh, and Ratatouille never got a sequel, did it? Or did it?
Don't think so. Oh, you know what the sequel name for that would be, though?
What?
Ratatouille.
Ratatouille. Oh God, would it
have to be?
Ratatouille, yeah. Okay, and my only other one, which we've already covered, is drink whenever that cockroach nearly dies.
My final one is drink whenever WALL-E holds Eve's hand.
Oh, that's a sweet one.
And quite often.
Yeah, he does it a lot. I mean, she is unconscious, but
well, for a lot of it.
For a lot of it, yeah. But again, it's a kids' film. I'll give it a pass. It's very sweet. Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about the best scene in the film for me, when he's shot out of the escape pod, and then he comes back. You know, the escape pod explodes because the other robot set it to self-destruct.
And he escapes.
And he's got
the extinguisher, and it turns into the film Gravity.
Yeah, it just becomes, but a lovely, lovely version of it. Like it's
such a much better version. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you've got me imagining like George Clooney and Sandra Bullock with just a fire extinguisher, just being like, woo, just dancing around. Much better film. But yeah, I mean, considering this film is 10 years old, like, and CGI doesn't date well, but for me, this film still looks great. Like, CGI has come a long way in 10 years, but still, you look at this and you think that still looks beautiful. And that's.
Well, I find it weird with animated movies because they're essentially cartoons. You don't really have a comparison to what it's trying to be, because all it's trying to be is what it is. Whereas if you compare it to, say, the villain in Justice League, that's trying to look like a real thing because it's compared to all these real human actors, if you call Ben Affleck human.
Humanoid.
But like, if you look at Toy Story, which was what, 94 or something?
Yeah.
That still looks absolutely flawless, but that's just because it looks as good as it does.
No, that's very true, actually. I think
there's nothing in the film that looks better than the rest of the animation. So you just accept it as a cartoon.
Yeah. That's true, because you can look at old like 50s and 60s Disney movies and, you know, hand-drawn, and you just accept it because it is part of that world, and yeah, they still look great just as a whole. But you're right, CGI.
But then if you do that, say, with Mary Poppins, where you've got the cartoon bit and you've got real people in it, then it suddenly looks like, oh, that's very much cartoon and that's very much real.
Yeah, that
stands out.
Yeah, when you put an animation into, or a CGI combined with real life, then that's when it shows
Yeah.
the cracks show. But I agree, yeah. I have no problems with the visuals of this film. I think it looks great. But that particular scene where the little dance in space is just beautiful. Just really nicely done. Just lovely. So, yeah. Although I did think, if you held a plant out in space, would it not like instantly...
Yes, it would die. I was really anxious through the whole scene. Just like, I'm assuming that his compartment has got a seal on it. Let's just, for argument's sake, the plant in his compartment.
But he holds
and that's
it out.
sealed, and that's fine. And then he takes it out, and I'm like, no, don't do that, you idiot. Oh, God, this is awful. That plant is so going to die.
Well, again, we'll just nitpicking, but yeah.
Kids should be taught that sort of thing, just in case they're put in the same situation.
True. With every passing generation, it becomes more likely. So.
Yeah.
Oh, so many stars. Hey, that's what's his name?
Hey, what the?
Look at that.
What? Hey, I know that guy. It's Wall-E. That's it. Hey, Wall-E. Wall-E. Hey, it's your buddy John. Hey.
Shall I go first this week?
Yeah, go on.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, I didn't want to do a sequel.
Okay.
So,
that's 2018 over, guys.
Yep. End of podcast. No, but because I felt like the story was kind of complete.
Yeah.
I couldn't really think of anywhere else to go with the characters of Wall-E and Eve. So I keep forgetting that. So instead, I decided to go for a prequel. I don't have a name for this yet, so maybe you can help me.
Okay.
So it's set about 50 years into the future from today. Okay. So 2067-ish, let's say. It doesn't really matter exactly.
2068.
2068-ish, yes.
Crikey, I nearly gave the game away.
Oh dear. So it's 50 years in the future from today, and the world... So obviously we're not yet at the stage that Wall-E's reality is in, but safe to say the world has gotten worse. Climate change, pollution, etc. have left the world in a really terrible state. So much so that now most of the world is kind of barely inhabitable, kind of wasteland. You know, there's been lots of like deforestation and, you know, acid rain. And it's just a dystopian, you know, kind of thing. But it's still a kid's film. We're not getting too dark with this.
Right, okay.
But no, Wall-E had it. It was a wasteland, you know, humanity being wiped out kind of thing. It's that, you're just seeing a very...
True, but it was like, here's the world it's set in, as opposed to, the world's falling apart, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah, it's darker, yeah. But I'm not going super dark this week. By my standards, this is quite light. By my standards.
Wall-E 2, this time it's for adults.
Yes, yeah, then Wall-E 2, 50 Shades of Chrome. So the wealthy kind of elites of the world are living in exclusive kind of domed communities where everything's okay and everything's fine, and they never have to look at what's happening in the rest of the world. So they've got everything they need. And basically machines are continuing to kind of drain what little is left of the planet's resources. So our hero in this film is a human, and he's a robot repairman. Let's say he's called Andy. Maybe we're not going to say it explicitly. Maybe it's Andy from Toy Story. Just you know, maybe he's grown up and become a robot repairman. You know. He'd probably be pretty old at this point, to be fair. It's not like Up. I'm not imagining a super old guy, but like...
Yeah, he'd be like, 60 odd?
Yeah, it's possible, but maybe not. Probably not, but maybe. You know, we'll leave that door ajar.
Sure, but you're stuck on Andy, though.
I'm sticking with Andy, yeah. Just as a name, the name doesn't matter.
Sure.
So Andy's the robot repairman. His job is to fix the robots from the outside. Whenever they break down, they are brought into his warehouse, and he helps to fix them and then sends them back out on their way to do whatever it is they're doing. So he lives in... Oh, I forgot to say, these communities are owned by the company By and Large, which is the company that ended up owning the ships and was So that's the first call forward to the first film, is that these are like By and Large communities, basically. So he lives in one of these By and Large communities and has a pretty comfortable life, like, you know. And he just spends his days, as I say, fixing these robots. But his real dream is to one day build his own droids. He's kind of an inventor on this side. So maybe we see him doing something in his spare time, like building up like robot prototypes and things. And maybe there's, you know, some Pixar comedy there, lots of good visual humor with like all these failed experiments he does. Like maybe they just like explode or go crazy, and, you know, they just don't work properly. But he's trying. He's doing his best. So we see him doing that in his spare time, and also, as I say, he's fixing these other robots that have to go out and like drain the environment. And he kind of knows what the other robots he's fixing are doing, but he doesn't really think about it too much. He's very, like most people, he doesn't really think about the world outside his own experiences. And he's kind of just, you know, turning a blind eye, basically. He's not a bad person, is what I mean. He's essentially a nice guy, but he's just propping up a quite corrupt system, just, you know, for an easy life.
Sure, yeah.
Also, this being Pixar, he's going to need a sidekick, you know, like a cutesy sidekick. So I thought maybe he should have a cog.
A cog?
Yeah, which is what I've termed a genetically engineered cat and dog. So it's all about, because people are either cat people or dog people. So let's say 50 years in the future, people have solved this problem by splicing the best parts of both.
Okay. So what are we talking? Like a Great Dane, but with a cat's head?
I think that'd be good, yeah. Yes. So
It's going to be a little creepy?
Yeah, it's going to be creepy, but it's also going to be funny. So it's going to have like the strength and agility of a dog and the loyalty of a dog, but also the sassiness of a cat. And I think it should also like poop rainbows and speak exclusively in memes.
I mean, how does it poop rainbows?
Maybe its poop is rainbow coloured.
All right.
It's like a metaphor for the film. It's like painting over the ugliness with something pretty and letting people not think about it. So.
Sure.
Also, I think it'd be a funny, visual gag. Do you know what the Nyan cat is?
Yes.
One of the oldest memes in the world. It's a cat just like pooping a giant rainbow. And so I just think, it's just to reflect people's obsession with like, particularly cats more than dogs, but like, cat and dog memes. Everyone loves them. Bring them together, create an actual cat-dog hybrid that is just a walking, talking meme.
Sure.
I just think that'd be very funny and very Pixar. He has no influence on the rest of the plot. I was just mentioning him as a character.
Okay, cool.
Because Pixar needs that.
Sure.
So, as I say, our hero Andy is going about his life fixing these machines, not really thinking about much. And they've got cutesy names like Fracker or, Nuclear... Fracker R, or, WALL-E, like Frack R, or, Dumpy, something like that. So we see him fixing them, and then we see them go out into the real world and, like, do, fracking.
Dumpy sounds like somebody who's really bad at holding down relationships.
Well, I was more thinking like he's like dumping nuclear waste. But yeah, get that too.
Oh,
poor Dumpy. Always the Dumpy, never the dumper. So yeah, we're going to have to show the audience what those robots are doing. So we see them being taken out of the domed, beautiful, wealthy community, the by and large community, and into this horrible wasteland that is the real world where they, are drilling for oil and fracking and blowing things up and dumping toxic wastes and dumping garbage and do all these things that are terrible for the planet, basically.
Yeah.
So one day, he's fixing one of these robots and he finds a note jammed into the gears of one of these robots. And it just says, "Help me."
All right.
Yep. So he's obviously disturbed by this, doesn't know what it is. So he actually sneaks out of the good place, the by and large community, and follows the robot on its way back to its assignment place. Because let's say they're programmed to return to a specific spot. He literally just does the repairs. They come in, he fixes them, they go out again. He doesn't really know where they go. In his whole life, he's never thought about it. So he decides to follow this robot that's had the note stuck into its gears, manages to sneak out of the by and large community, which is very illegal. People are banned from leaving, that's the only rule. And so we see him go into the real world and discover what's really going on. And he sees, as I say, this terribly polluted planet, and he's horrified. He's really, really horrified. He's never really seen it up close before. And so he follows the robot back and finds out that the note belongs to a little orphan girl, very Pixar, who's living in this shanty town in the garbage district. And at this point, 98% of America is the garbage district.
Right.
Because I thought, it seemed like I don't know there were supposed to be other ships, but Up didn't really touch on this, but it seemed like there were only a few hundred, maybe 1,000 people on that ship.
Yeah.
So you've got to think a lot of humanity has probably died out. It seemed like they were the lucky ones.
That's what, yeah.
Yeah. Which it would have been too dark to really get into that in Up, but in WALL-E. But I felt like that was what the implication was.
Even darker, did it?
Even in Up even more, yeah. But yeah, I felt like that was the implication.
You're old, you're not allowed.
Yes. Yeah, that's the dark sequels of that film that comes. So I'm thinking most of humanity is just which weren't part of this elite system were just kind of screwed, basically.
Yeah.
So this little girl is one of them. So she's just eking out a living in this horribly polluted, wasteland with all the other kind of scavengers. She also needs to have a cute sidekick. So I'm thinking her cute sidekick might be a genetically mutated raccoon who only eats nuclear waste.
Okay.
Yeah. And obviously that raccoon is going to fall in love with the cog.
Yeah.
So that's going to be some side, humour there. Yeah.
I like that.
So then the main plot of the film is going to follow Andy, the repairman, learning about life on the other side, and then maybe he sneaks the little girl back into the by and large district to kind of tell the community what's really going on. Because most of them don't know. It's more ignorance, like the first film. They're not bad people, they're just not thinking about it. There's going to be a bad guy, which I think is probably going to be the Fred Willard character from the first film.
Yeah.
The one he played the CEO of Buy and Save, who appeared in as like a hologram.
Oh, so wait, is this a live action film?
Oh, that's the thing. No, I think it has to be Pixar. So maybe it's animated, but with Fred Willard's voice.
Okay.
Because there's no need to show humans. We're not doing any like Hello Dolly, Barbra Streisand flashbacks in this. So we don't need to explicitly say it's the same guy. It's just the CEO of Buy and Save at this time.
Sure.
Happens to have the voice of Fred Willard. Maybe it's the same one. Maybe it's not.
Okay.
Yeah. You could have the human one, but it would be a bit jarring because everyone else is.
Yeah.
And he does know what's going on. He's the CEO of this big mega corporation that's responsible for keeping everything under wraps. So he's trying to hide it all. So then, wacky adventures are going to ensue. Obviously, there's going to be at least one beautifully animated dance sequence or something very Pixar-y. It's going to be the money shot of the film. I don't know what that's going to be. Maybe they'll be like making snow angels in garbage and nuclear waste and stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And obviously there'll be several unnecessary callbacks to 20th century pop culture and 21st century Apple products, just because, you know. Maybe the little girl has an old-fashioned like iPod that she listens to 90s pop tunes on. You know, there has to be something. So ultimately, Andy's able to reveal the little girl to the citizens. There's probably going to be like TV screens all over the place, like in the first film.
Yeah.
So he puts her on the camera. He's like, this little girl is from the outside. Look what's going on. You know, big reveal. All the citizens are horrified and demand something be done. You know, they rise up. And it forces the buy and save Fred Willard, CEO person, to concede. And he agrees, at the end of the film, he agrees to hire Andy as the chief engineer of the Planetary Cleanup Commission. That means he gets to invent his own robots to kind of fix the world. So the movie ends with him unveiling his first ever successful creation, which is, of course, the Waste Allocation Load Lifter Earth class, or otherwise known as WALL-E. So we'll see a fleet of these. So we'll see him kneel down with one of these he's just invented. He'll be like, "You're our last hope, little guy." And then the film will end, it'll pan out, and there'll be thousands of WALL-E units being sent out back into the garbage district to kind of start the cleanup process. Maybe we'll get a close-up on one that looks a little bit different from the rest. Just maybe it's like you'll hear a little bit of that Hello Dolly song, the romantic one, playing in the background or something. And yeah, that's the end.
Oh, nice.
So it's a proper like prequel to WALL-E. So,
I like that. That's pretty good.
yeah. I feel weird that I didn't do anything dark or disgusting in that. I kept it pretty light and child-friendly and
Is that how you mean to go
hopeful.
on this year?
What?
Is that how you mean
Yeah,
to go
it's
on
my
this
New
year?
Year's resolution to stop ruining films. Not, I'm not confident I'll stick to it. But for this week, for this film, I didn't have the heart to be twisted. So maybe you have.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I can't really think of a title for yours though.
Yeah, I did this thing where I thought of the title before the film. Where it was like WALL-E to Robot Wars, but there's no actual Robot Wars in this.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a fun title. So no, I don't know. WALL-E Origins. It's a bit on the nose.
It's a bit-
Too on the nose for Pixar. Maybe it's just
What about like WALL-E, the production line?
or maybe it's not even called WALL-E. Maybe it's another Pixar film, and you only realise at the end that it's a WALL-E prequel. Like that's the twist.
The end of the world.
Yeah, or something like The Repairman or something.
Yeah.
Garbage. You know,
Garbage sorted.
garbage. That's a Pixar title.
Yeah.
Garbage.
In Britain, rubbish.
Yes. yeah. Rebranded it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I like it.
Okay. Any questions?
All right, so John's idea was rubbish.
Yes.
The adult
Yeah.
version, utter shit.
In American, it was trash.
Okay. All right, well, mine I've called WALL-E Mark II.
Okay.
So it is a sequel.
Okay.
Picks up an unknown amount of time after the first one. Just leave it ambiguous. I don't really think it needs saying. It's probably less than hundreds of years, I imagine.
Okay. So we're not bringing back any of the human characters then? But there's only really the captain and there's the little couple maybe, but they didn't really have much to do.
Yeah, they don't need to be in this. Maybe
No.
they are, maybe they're not. We'll
Okay,
see.
sure. Continue.
Yeah, so the humans they're colonising this city still. They're not fully there. It's not humanity's not back up to 21st century standards. But yeah, they're trying. WALL-E and Eve are living together in WALL-E's shack still.
Okay. So is it still pretty much really...
It's still pretty much a wasteland.
Okay, but maybe there's a few trees here and there and like
Yeah,
work
there-
is going on. Okay,
Yeah, there's a
sure.
few things like that. Day to day, WALL-E is still cleaning up the city, although now there are some new robots helping him with that, and maybe he's leading the team. Maybe he's in charge of the cleanup because he's been doing it for centuries.
Yeah.
Eve, on the other hand, spends her time trying to bring back the wildlife,
Okay.
and so she's turned Central Park into a massive garden.
Oh, that's nice.
Trees and bushes and flower beds and all sorts like that.
Can she still be super trigger happy though?
Oh yeah, of course.
Can we see like she spots a weed or something and just like blasts it? Like,
Yes, I like it.
like the eyes narrow the way a little digital eyes would narrow and just be like,
Yeah.
see you in hell. Like,
Maybe she's got a thing against that cockroach, and
yeah.
every time she sees it, she nearly does, and then WALL-E's just like, no,
That cockroach can't still be alive.
cockroaches live forever.
They live for about a year. It's just that they are very hardy and breed a lot. But anyway, in this, sure, why not?
Yeah, so the humans are still, well, they're really fat and stupid,
Okay,
to say the least, because they don't know anything. They don't even know what a pizza is.
true.
They
Yeah,
think it grows on trees.
they're still waiting for that mythical pizza tree to sprout.
Imagine a pizza tree.
Yeah.
Oh. And so they're constantly making a lot of hilarious mistakes, which WALL-E and Eve are just sort of picking up the slack on.
Okay.
Maybe without the humans knowing, WALL-E and Eve are really just sort of doing all the heavy lifting, and the humans are just like, well, that worked out well.
Oh, I like that. That'd be funny because you could see them in like again, they're like rolling their eyes as much as the robots do because they're the expressive faces. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Especially because they don't speak. There's this kind of silent comedy of them like. "Meh."
Yeah. One day, Eve and WALL-E are taking a walk,
Okay.
hand in hand.
A roll and a float, surely.
A roll and a float. Hand in hand through Eve's gardens.
Yeah.
And they come across two humans walking towards them. One of them's carrying a little baby.
Oh, so the humans are walking again. They have evolved somewhat. They're just...
Yeah, I mean, they were walking at the end of the film. They were struggling, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. I got the sense that not only had they been in low gravity, but they'd also never actually walked. Never gotten off their little carts.
Oh, no, exactly. That was the whole point. Yeah, they just become... They were just babies. They were just adult babies. That was the thing. So, yeah.
So now there's two humans walking towards them. Mm-hmm. They've got a baby.
Okay.
Yeah, so when they come up to Wall-E and Eve, they make inquisitive noises. Or stuff, I don't know.
Yeah. Very good.
There's going to be some of this. And so they get shown the baby. They slow down and they sort of play with the baby a little bit, and the baby chuckles or something, and then the humans walk off.
With the baby?
Yeah.
No, they just leave the baby.
So Wall-E and Eve look into each other's eyes and then go straight home.
Okay.
And then we get a montage of them searching the city and collecting different parts, and they build themselves a little robot.
Oh, a little baby robot.
Little baby robot, which they're going to call Azzy.
Azzy?
Mm-hmm.
Why Azzy?
Because what my niece calls me. It's the first thing I can think of.
Oh, okay, sure.
Also, it's a thing that I feel like Wall-E and Evie can actually say with their language capabilities.
Yeah. Easy.
They can just about say Wall-E and Eve. Did I say Eve or Evie?
He keeps calling her Evie, but I think her name is supposed to be Eve. It's just that's all he can do.
Yeah.
Although, well, Wall-E and Eve both they're both acronyms. Wall-E, as I say, is Waste Allocation Load Lifter Earth Class, and Eve is Environmental something. So what would the baby stand for? What would Azzy stand for? AZE or AAZI?
I was supposed to hit AZZY, but
AZZY?
that could be changed because I can't think of many words beginning with Z.
Yeah, certainly not two in a row. Zebra, Zurich.
Oh yeah, it doesn't stand for it. It's
okay, fine. Yeah.
I mean, this is made by robots, so it's not actually made for a function.
True. They've just built themselves a little baby. Right?
Yeah.
So does this baby look like a mix between the two of them, or?
Sort of, but mainly just sort of bits and pieces that they found. Like it's made out of rubbish.
Okay.
/ trash / garbage / other shit.
So it is like a Frankenstein's monster kind of situation. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although it's not a monster.
No, sorry, it's a baby.
Yeah.
Frankenstein's baby monster.
So maybe there's now going to be a series of scenes of it learning how to use it. It's got the same tracks as Wall-E, let's say, and it's learning how to use them, and it can't quite get the speed right, keeps bumping into things and knocking things over. It's all learning how to do that. Evie starts teaching it how to speak, because I think she's got a bit more of a vocab than Wall-E does.
Yeah, she definitely does.
And so I could see that happening, but then Wall-E learns some words as well and gets confused by, wait, I didn't know I could say that, sort of thing. Yeah, which would be nice. And so it starts growing up, and by growing up I mean they keep finding bigger and better things, like maybe better cameras for its head or bigger wheels. And so it physically gets bigger, and we actually see it growing up over time, which would be nice. And the main story kicks in with Azzy as a teenager.
Ah, okay. I was going to say we're going to get to like the angry teen stage.
Yeah, so there's a lot of teenage tendencies, which maybe if this were to be made into a film we'd get more of that, but I'm just going to focus on one of them, which is falling in love.
Right, okay.
Azzy has several friends. They're all in one group together. They're all offspring of other robots from the ship, so maybe there's one that's a little parasol.
Yeah.
There's all sorts like that. He's really taken with one of his friends.
Okay.
But so is everyone else.
Oh, okay.
So a bit of a competition there. Also, Azzy's not sure if she likes him back.
Okay.
So just a little bit of uncertainty there.
Why are they all gendered?
I don't know. For a while I tried writing this ungendered, but it was very difficult because it was like... And then they picked up their thing and I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, I just think it's weird because like robots, they're like functional robots. It's not like the humanoid robots like Data or C-3PO, which also don't necessarily need to have a gender, but they kind of just assume they do. But yeah, like why would Wall-E... Evie was definitely a woman. Like, the voice was a woman. I guess it's just so people can understand. Like,
yeah.
Anyway, continue. So what does this like hot girl robot look like?
I don't know. What do you think? What could it look like?
I'd like it if she was one of the sassy pink robots.
Just a trim? Uh-huh. Oh, I see. I know, honey, I know. I'm good. I am good. You look gorgeous.
Okay, yeah.
Or maybe...
She's got legs.
What do you want us to have? Like, do you want to do that like classic old Hollywood thing where it's going to like slow pan up the legs, like woo woo, that kind of thing?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe a single wheel.
Yeah. I'll polish your chrome. Yeah, I think she should look a bit different actually. So.
Yeah, I'd say she gets by on a wheel. She's got 2 arms. Maybe they're extendable to an extent, or that sort of thing.
Okay.
Go Gadget, long arms. Or...
Yeah.
A hat?
A hat? Why would a robot have a hat?
I don't know. Why not?
Like maybe she's got a headpiece that looks like a hat, like part of her. Or you think she's actually wearing like a top hat or something? Like...
I could see these robots as they've accessorized.
Oh, so okay. So now
they find things. You know, WALL-E's got his little bin lid or something that he uses as a hat.
He just uses that to dance, though. He doesn't use it as like a hat. Not like it's a fashion accessory.
True, but
okay, so maybe in a few hundred years, yeah, maybe they're kind of copying humans a little bit, so they're starting to wear clothes or things. Maybe, sure.
Anyway,
this is all. Listeners, give us if you want to draw some ideas, like what a WALL-E love interest, but not Eve would look like. Let us know. A teenage girl robot. Let us know.
And so, as a group, they all go exploring the abandoned city.
Okay.
And maybe they're young teenagers, I don't know. They decide to play hide and seek.
Okay. Is this building to some kind of Stranger Things crossover? Because you've done it.
No, I wasn't going to.
Continue.
How is that going to cross over Stranger Things?
I just heard kids exploring abandoned places. I thought, oh. Sorry, it's because you moaned at me for the Truman Show repeats.
Yeah, I'm not really one to repeat my own ideas. I am quite original, actually.
Fair enough, sure. So Big Daddy will come in any minute now, right?
It's not happening.
Okay, cool.
I was close with this one.
Carry on.
So they all play hide and seek, which results in them all getting lost because it's New York, it's big.
Mm-hmm.
And so cue shots of tiny robot Azzy searching for all his friends, but it's a massive, massive city and he's so small and he can't find anybody, and then he gets lost somewhere and he gets really scared, but luckily he's got this little gadget that can send out a GPS signal back to the shack where WALL-E happens to be.
Okay.
So WALL-E comes out and picks him up, and the two of them, they start searching for all their friends.
Mm-hmm.
They find them all one by one. Maybe they're all hid in different creative places. Maybe they're robots that are disguised as other things, like pretending to be a building or something, depending on how they're designed. I can see Pixar doing that sort of thing. And they absolutely can't find this girl robot, this unnamed girl robot that Azzy fancies.
Okay.
Which could be anywhere. So eventually they give up and they go home, but they go home via Central Park to go and pick up Eve or something.
Mm-hmm.
And Eve says that she saw her. She went and hid in the flower beds there. And so WALL-E says, well, there you go, son. Well, it doesn't say, but motions like, there you go, son.
Mm-hmm. So this is going to be mostly silent like the first one, right?
Yeah.
Just robot noises?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
Robot noises, expressions, and...
Yeah.
You don't need words. Who needs words?
No, I agree. That's what made this film work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we just see WALL-E and Eve watch as Azzy finds his friend, and the two of them just play together in the flower beds. Mm-hmm. And then we go to credits.
Oh, that's a nice, sweet little... Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it'd be a short film.
I feel like that'd be a short. I think that's
it's not really a feature length, but I think it's more likely that WALL-E would get a short film sequel rather than an actual full feature length sequel. Yeah. It's like you said, there's not much to go on.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't revisited it as a short, because it feels like people wouldn't get mad about that.
No.
I think you could have like a WALL-E short of him and Eve just doing. But as far as I know, I don't think they have. Have they? They've never really.
Well, I mean, the credits kind of covered that.
Yeah.
So.
No, but I mean, just any kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, they could do anything just as a short. You can do anything. But yeah, no, I think that's sweet. I mean, that's a nice little just drop back in on them and see how they're getting on. And yeah. Mm-hmm. So we've both gone quite sweet this week, really. And we didn't.
Well, quite sweet film.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, this film broke us. We couldn't even bring ourselves to be horrible about it. So well done, Pixar. Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. So listener submissions then.
Great. Yeah.
So Think Outside the Box Set at TOTBS Podcast, rolls off the tongue. Their idea was called WALL-D.
Okay.
And it wants to show us exactly how WALL-E got all the parts he scavenged from the other robots. So it is a real kind of Jeffrey Dahmer kind of situation. Or if you want to be a little bit less disturbing, it's a real Dr. Frankenstein kind of thing. So yeah, I guess that's a little darker take. Maybe he's like murdering all the other robots and stuff and getting parts, and that's why he's the only one left. Because it was kill or be killed.
He murdered everyone.
Yeah, it's kill or be killed.
The world ended because WALL-E murdered everyone.
Well, I think he murdered all the other
maybe he ran out of things to clean up. So, like, what can I do? I know, I'll pollute the planet.
Yes! He's the villain. And then he gets too close to tidying up again and he has to bring humanity back down so he can ruin it all over again. He's a monster.
Yeah.
WALL-E is a monster.
Yeah.
I think they just thought maybe he'd killed all the other WALL-E units, but sure, yeah, that's even better, / worst. Okay. Casey Scott Mangold, his idea is called WALL-E Learns to Fuck.
Right, okay.
Yeah. It's basically the 40-year-old virgin, but with cute robots. So we thought it wasn't possible to go dark with this, but our listeners have proven us wrong.
So.
Yeah. Blockbusters, at Blockbusters. WALL-E 2 Uprising. The humans are settling into life on Earth. Plants are finally growing, people are shrinking, etc.
That's always the dream.
Yep. WALL-E and Eve are heroes, obviously. And then robots start to go missing. Auto, the autopilot on the ship,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
kind of the main villain in the story, has been shown to have reactivated, and he's been amassing other robots to reprogram them so they can still follow his hidden directive to kind of keep humans off Earth. So the robots, who'd all started to show a bit of individuality, turn back into mindless automatons. So at this point, the humans are celebrating 10 years since they arrived back on Earth, and then Auto opens a hatch in the old ship, which has long since been abandoned, and the captured robots start to round up all the humans and kind of herd them back on board the ship. And WALL-E and Eve see this and get the remaining robots to kind of help protect the humans while they go and stop Auto, leading to a final showdown where Eve short-circuits, I don't know if that's a pun or not, short-circuits herself to fry Auto's hard drive. We get a mirror of the WALL-E restart from the first film, but Eve doesn't regain her memories this time. However, WALL-E begins courting her again with the humans helping, so he has to win her love all over again. So at the end of the film, like, it seemed like WALL-E had lost his memory. It's very sad, and then she kisses him and it all comes back. So I guess it's that, but she doesn't come back. It's just a bit sad, but so he just has to do it all over again, basically. So it fades to black, and then I guess post-credits, we get a fade in and a red light shines on the remains of Auto, and a voice calls out, "What are you doing, Auto?" So I guess that means it's coming back to life again. Room for the sequel.
More.
Sure, okay. Matt Hanley has no idea, but he says, "I just want to get to the third one so they can call it Wall 3.
Nice.
Very good, very good.
I love a good sequel name with a number in it.
Oh, and finally, Joe Herman says, WALL-E wonders why he's still processing garbage after his heroic actions in the first movie. Eventually, he leads a robot uprising. The humans are still weak and coddled and are defeated easily. So, yeah. Fair enough. So, yeah, very good, guys. If you have any ideas for sequels or prequels or remakes of WALL-E, or any films we've done in the past, or any films you'd like us to do in the future, let us know. We are Beyond the Box Set. You can find us at beyondtheboxset.com. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Acast, Google Play, Podbean, all good podcasting platforms. You can also get in touch with us on most forms of social media. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Google+. Just search Beyond the Box Set and you will probably find us. And, yeah.
What happens on Tumblr?
I paste the odd GIF. That's it.
Does it work?
It's just like
do people...
It's not our biggest platform.
What do people do on Tumblr? I don't even know what it is.
Have a look. It's just people sharing photos and GIFs, basically.
Sounds like everything.
Pretty much, yeah. I think it's like Instagram, but less personal. Like Instagram, you post photos from your life, mostly. I think Tumblr's just like, oh, here's a sassy cat meme or something, like.
Yeah.
Mostly, yeah. I don't use it that much, but, you know.
Great. Well, that's a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, well...
That's my review of it. Yeah.
Well, you know, every little helps. I'm just trying to put us out there. But yeah, if you do like the show, whether you heard us on Tumblr or anywhere else, please consider subscribing. Just hit subscribe on your chosen podcasting platform and you'll get a new episode every Friday morning without fail, except when we're late. And
except when you're late.
Except when I'm late, yeah. Except I do like 90% of the work, fuck you.
Whoa, I'm sorry.
Do you know how long it takes to edit these things? Yeah, if you really like us, please leave us a review because that really helps us to find new listeners. We will be back next week with, I believe it's my choice.
Yeah, what you got for me?
So I think, just pulling a good film out of a hat, I think we should do Being John Malkovich.
Oh, crikey.
Have you seen it?
No.
Okay. Why oh crikey then?
Just because I know that like everybody's John Malkovich or something?
Well, don't spoil it. I hadn't seen it either. That was ruined.
Sure, you knew that already.
I knew that already, yeah.
Okay. Crikey, Being John Malkovich.
We're starting strong in 2018.
Yeah.
Classics all the way.
Being Johnny Depp. There we go.
Oh, well, now cancel the episode. Great.
Yeah, right. What's next?
I had one idea. Okay, cool. So join us next week for Being John Malkovich.
Yeah.
Bye.
Happy 2018. Bye.